Mumonkan, case number 10. Seizei is utterly destitute. Main case. Seizei said to Sozan, "Seizei is utterly destitute. Will you give him support?" Sozan called out, "Seizei!" Seizei responded, "Yes, sir." "You have emptied 3 cups of the finest wine in China, and still you have not yet moistened your lips." Mumon's comment. Seizei pretended to be poor. What was his scheme? Sozan had the eye of Buddha and saw through his opponent's motive. However, I want to ask you, at what point did Seizei drink wine? So, this koan today starts with the sentence, "Seizei is utterly destitute. Will you give him support?" So, Seizei, Sozan are both seasoned monks and Zen masters of the 9th century in China. It is then also unlikely that this sentence would mean, Seizei, I need a little pocket money to buy some food and stuff. Can you help? No, that's probably not what Seizei meant when he said this sentence. Nor would it mean, "Oh, Seizei, I need a little spiritual guidance from you. Can you help me?" Again, no. That's again not probably what Seizei was asking Sozan. In fact, the real question we have in front of us here is, what does Seizei mean when he says he is utterly destitute? What does he mean by destitute? In one of our previous recordings, we already elaborated on the neti-neti approach in Advaita. For example, I stand in front of a mirror, so I'm not the face I can see in that mirror in front of me. I'm rather the space of awareness, aware of that image. I'm not this hunger feeling in my tummy or my tingling sensations in my feet. No, I'm the space of awareness that is aware of the belly, that is aware of the feet. I'm not the taste of pistachio ice cream. No, I'm the aware space in which this explosion takes place when pistachio ice cream comes into my mouth. I'm not the thought about, for example, an interview I have tomorrow to get a new job. No, I am the space of awareness in which this little movie called my thought takes place. Or I'm not this ego character which tends to be stubborn or angry from time to time. And then at other time, this ego is nice and friendly to others. I'm neither one nor the other. I'm the space in which these ego characters come and go. So, neti-neti, I'm not this, I'm not that. It's like peeling an onion. You peel layer after layer from the onion, one by one, until you become utterly destitute, just like Seizei. Doing so, however, the space of awareness, which is what you are, tends to become more apparent. The silent background then has a chance to shine through. Somehow, the sight of a movie screen on which a movie is projected, this screen becomes more apparent when the movie is not playing. Yet it's also true that this movie screen is always there, even when the movie plays. I just listened back to one of the early recordings of one of my Advaita teachers, Francis Lucille, in which he interprets the story of Abraham's sacrifice. In this story, God not only asked Abraham to give up everything, no, he asked him to give up what was most precious to him, symbolized in this Bible story by his son. That can be seen as a symbol of giving up one's own life and blood, one's ego, and all its attributes, including body, sensations, thoughts, ego images. Give it all up. And when then one becomes utterly destitute, just like Seizei, then God's presence or consciousness shines through, and we are rewarded tenfold, thousandfold. Of course, we are not asked to kill anything literally, just like Abraham was stopped by God's messenger to effectively, physically sacrifice his son. The thing we are asked to give up are all these false notions of what we are not, the self-identification with a bunch of junk representations, and exchange those with the recognition of what we truly are, and that is aware of all these notions, consciousness, God, and thus to embrace God rather than being attached to a heap of junk images. And when we are then ready to exchange these junk of images, we receive in return a true gem, a true diamond, our true nature. Let us return now to our koan. I repeat the first line. Seizei said to Sozan, Seizei is utterly destitute. Will you give him support? Sozan called, Seizei. Seizei responded, Yes, sir. So when Seizei was asking his question to Sozan, he already had given up all false notions of self. He had given up the notion of being a body, being thoughts, being feelings, being sense perceptions. He sacrificed his ego entities, and so he became utterly destitute. But just being emptiness, just being this silent mirror background, it's a bit like just being open sky. And then came Sozan's response, and he said, Seizei! And Seizei responded, Yes, sir. Where did this yes sir come from? If Seizei were really empty, really destitute, how could this yes sir come from? Where does it come from? Suddenly it arises out of where? Out of what? Let me provide a few more examples which would be similar to what just happened within Seizei. Imagine you're playing tennis and a ball is coming towards you, and suddenly you jump into action, your racket goes and you hit the ball back to your opponent. That whole action, where does it come from? If you are truly destitute, empty, how could this action suddenly come into existence? Another example, you're driving and someone in front of you slams the brake. Suddenly you make a slalom to evade an accident. Here again, this whole reaction you have towards this situation, where does it come from? If you truly are emptiness, if you truly are destitute, how could this wave of reaction suddenly arise? Or a third example, you're sitting with a few friends around a bonfire on a nice summer evening, and someone is starting to sing your most favorite song. Without thinking even, you start singing along. Where does that song suddenly come from? If your true nature is emptiness, is destitute, how does this song suddenly come up? So Sozan makes that point clear to Seizei. You tell me your emptiness, you're destitute, you're silent, you're ocean, but you're also full of waves. You're also one with the waves. One with the waves that's called yes, sir. One with the wave that hits the tennis ball. One with the wave that makes a slalom to avoid the accident. One with the wave of singing along your favorite song. Let us get back to this sentence from Koan. Sozan called out, Seizei. Seizei responded, yes, sir. Sozan then added, you have emptied 3 cups of the finest wine in China, and still you say you have not moistened your lips. My rendering of this addition would be as follows. Having emptied 3 cups of the finest wine may relate to having reached total emptiness. Maybe 1 cup symbolizes all sense perception. You have emptied it. Maybe the 2nd cup may symbolize all the feelings you have. And maybe the 3rd cup may symbolizing all your thoughts. You emptied it all. And you reached what sometimes is labeled absolute samadhi or nirvikalpa samadhi, complete emptiness. Yet you haven't moistened your lips yet. That relates to the fact that our friend Seizei hasn't become one with the objects yet. One with the sense perception, one with the feelings, one with the thoughts. So after the neti part, where you're emptying your cup one after the other, your task is not yet finished. You must also reintegrate with all these objects. Moisten your lips. and then that is being labeled sometimes are being in positive samadhi or sahaja samadhi. Complete oneness in broad daylight and in the midst of the bustling world. We continue. There is still Mumon's comment. Seizei pretended to be poor. What was his scheme? Sozan had the eye of Buddha and saw through his opponent's motive. However, I want to ask you, at what point did Seizei drink the wine? Well, Seizei's scheme, we discussed it, was probably a bit like showing off his absolute samadhi. Look how empty I am. Look how destitute I am. Isn't that wonderful? Help me was kind of a tricky question he asked. And Sozan didn't get impressed with Seizei's scheme. And by triggering the yes sir from him, he showed that in fact he's not destitute at all. He's actually very rich. As to when Seizei drinks the wine, in fact, there is only one ever-present now moment, during which Seizei and all of you out there also, you're drinking the wine all the time, and you're moistening your lips all the time, moment to moment in the now. So I'm inviting you to do so today. Moisten your lips with all the experiences that may occur today, and do so knowingly. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.